going to be recorded and then posted for the high school league. I don't know when that they'll post it, but we'll do the best that we can on that. So what we're going to go through here is just the basics of athletic.net from the point of view of what most of you will see and how to collect rosters and entries from there. So we're going to do this part first. Don't put things in the chat. Just hold on to them because I'm not going to be paying attention to it. And then we'll try and do a question and answer after that point. So that being said, it's now 6 o'clock and we will begin. So I'm going to share my screen somehow. So first thing what you're going to need is you are going to need an athletic.net account. You can go to athletic.net, whether you're a coach or a teacher, a timer, meet manager, whatever, you need an athletic.net account. You'll also then need to be attached to your team. If you're a coach, the process is pretty straightforward. If you're not, create an account. This is essentially what your page is going to look like right in front of you. And then you see the search button here. You can search whatever school you are or attached with, whether that is, I'm just going to type in Wayzata. Okay. Now this account is specifically already tied to Wayzata High School for other training purposes. So I'm going to pick a school I'm not attached with, such as Chaska High School. You click on the school. I am not a part of this team, so I cannot do anything with them. So you go and scroll down to the bottom. So where it says coaches and admins and request an addition to the team. Either one of the coaches can add you at that point and approve your request, or someone with athletic.net will, or me. Those are the only ways to get into the account, into a school account, or have school access to do anything within the school. So we're going to go back to my account, click on the three little buttons here in the top left, and I'm going to scroll down to Wayzata High School because this is the account that I attached it to. Okay. For the purposes of this meet or this training, we're going to create a fake meet, just like you guys would. We're going to pick a random date. We're going to pick the 18th. Notice there's no meet here. So this is just any meet that may already be on the schedule. We're just going to choose a random date so it doesn't affect anything else that's going on in the state. So we're going to go ahead and up here and we're going to create a new event. We're creating a regular event. It's not virtual. We're going to create outdoor track meet. We're going to click the 18th. You put in wherever you are. Wayzata High School is in Plymouth. We're just going to call it the Wayzata Test Meet. Okay. Click next. Venue name is Wayzata High School. High school only. My team is hosting. I'm adding it.
Hey Josh, this is Jummy for quick clarification. I might have missed this. I came in a little late. Is it only the host school that would add the event?
Yes.
Great. Thanks.
Yep. It's whoever hosting the meet is in charge of the registration process. So you don't have to fill out the start time or any of this other stuff. If you're hosting a middle school meet, you're going to have middle school specific teams and click middle school. But other than that, just click high school. My team is hosting, and then it just added to your account. Okay. I'm in the host team. Yes, I'm authorized. Agree and continue. Okay, so this is where people are going to be a little confused. Okay, if you're collecting, we're just going to talk about roster only meets. We're not going to talk about, like right now, we're going to talk about roster only meets. We're not going to talk about a full seated track meet where you're taking entries for every event. We'll get to that a little later. So for the purposes of a roster only meet, I'm going to go ahead and click no thanks. I'm going to manually configure the event. Meet contact is just whoever you want to be contacted. There's a lot of other coaches on there. I apologize. So because you are not, this specific team is not a site supporter account, they cannot set an entry deadline or a beginning. So we'll talk about site supporter stuff later. That's a decision that you can decide on your own if you want to go ahead and do that. Upgrade to site supporter status. So we're going to go ahead and click mark complete. We do have to add a division, even if it's a JV meet only. I always just do mine as varsity, unless you're specifically going to put that's more for the next stuff we're going to talk about, which is a seated track meet, not the unseated track meet. So we're just going to create our division. I like to call it varsity. Okay, we don't really have anything in here, as these are different options. I'm just clicking through here because we don't really have choices for this. This is accepting payment, which I assume most of you aren't going to be doing online. Race bibs again. So on a site supporter account, or those of you who have ever done a meet that I'm timing, or True Team, because True Team goes through True Team Committee has doing the entries in the past. We have a site supporter account. True Team does now as well. You'll notice that when our meets happen, we have a thing called roster. It's a roster only meet. If you try searching for roster, if you don't have site supporter account, you do not have access to roster. Here's the workaround, and here's the part where a lot of people have been emailing me this year. All you have to do is select one event. So I'm just going to do sprints, and I'm going to select the 100-meter dash. Okay. If you want to limit I guess you don't have the ability to limit. So I guess that's really not an option for you. I apologize. All we're trying to do is collect the number of entries and collect kids. This is just, again, a roster only meet. I'm going to beat that into you because I understand that this is just different. We just need them to put kids into an event so you can pull them down from the website and into your meet. This is the only reason. So I'm going to create the 100-meter dash. I'm going to click mark complete, and now the meet is online. Okay. What you have to do now as the host is we're going to go up here to where it says Wyzetta test meet. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy this link address. Okay. And then you're going to take this link that I just copied, or if I click on it, it's going to take me to here. Okay. This is kind of the registration page. We're going to copy that link, and we're going to email that to the teams we want. So if Wyzetta has Eden Prairie at the meet, I'm going to email this link to Jummy, since I know she's a coach at Eden Prairie, or Andrew at Lakeville South. I'm going to email that link to our teams, or I'm going to say, this is the meet you need to look for. But so then if we were on a different team, we're going to get that link, and then I can go register. And so I'm going to use Wyzetta's account here to register for the meet. And all I'm going to do, and there's two ways to do registrations, right? I can click on the event, which is just 100. I know, it's just the event to dump kids into. Click it. You can click multi-button mode up here in the right, and I can just click all these kids. Might be a pain if you have a big team, but I'm clicking all these kids, and now they're in the meet. Okay. I know that they're not going to run the 100. That's not the point. The point is to get the kids into the meet so that we can put it into our scoring software. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of these as well. Okay. If you get questions from the other teams, why am I putting my kids in the 100? They're not going to run the 100. Again, just repeat to them, I just need your kids in an event so I can pull the kids out of the meet, off the online registration, into the scoring software. I'm going to repeat this a lot because I was taught that if you don't repeat things a lot, people don't listen. So now, as the host, okay, I can click on Manage Meet up here. Yeah, just click away from that. Jummy, are you logged into your athletic.net account?
Sorry, did you say me?
Yes.
I am.
Okay, I'm going to email you my link, and I want you to. Can you go ahead and dump some kids into this nice meet that I created so that we can?
Yes. Did you just email me the link?
Yeah, it'll take about 30 seconds.
Okay.
This was not planned, by the way, people. I did not know she was going to be on the call. So, one thing to look at is notice my attendance is unconfirmed. Doesn't really matter. As long as it's the right team that you want invited to your team, that's who you send that link out to. Once that link gets to Jummy, she'll be able to add that to her account, or add the meet to her schedule, and then dump a few kids in there, and then I will show you how to select the teams, run report, or run the download, and essentially just show you what you guys need to do so that you can do your meets like you have in the past.
All right, I got the link, Josh. Do you want me to just go ahead and?
Yeah, just go ahead and put it on your, it'll be different for you because I have, because I always send you an invite, but.
Right.
Yeah, just put a couple girls in. I don't just like a couple is fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions up to this part? I guess since we have some time here, as Jummy does some stuff in helping me out here.
I do have a question. This is Kim from Maple River. So the coaches then are the ones that will select the students. They'll click the kids' names, put them in the 100 or whatever event you set up. I just do the meet manager piece. So
Correct.
The schools would do that. I send a link, tell them this is what you need to do. That's a piece that they do. I don't actually go in and pull them down that way, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Perfect.
And as some of you may have been at the training sessions I've done at the high school league in the past, you understand, or you may know that I'm not the best at going through instructions or going slowly. So I do apologize for that.
Hey, Josh, is this mainly for meets that, is that a results is going to be scoring?
No.
Okay.
This is for meets that I am personally not scoring.
Okay, just checking.
I made that mistake a few years ago doing a training, and everyone's like, I don't have that button. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this is for most of you that do not have the quote site supporter status. It is a paid thing. I'm not telling you need to pay for it. I'm not telling you should pay for it. I'm just showing you the workaround for it, if that makes sense. So notice I refreshed and I see that our coach here from Eden Prairie has put in entries. So we can see her athlete count right here at 10. Jummy, you good?
Yep.
All right. So we have entries from 2 schools. I'm not going to really worry about boys from Eden Prairie. So now that I've got, so the other thing with this is that you need to tell the other schools, if you're the host, I'm telling Jummy, hey, you need to get this in by 8 o'clock Sunday night, right? Or whatever magical deadline you guys have decided for yourself. The site, if you're not a site supporter, does not close. I don't have the ability, or you would not have the ability to shut down registration. So that's where we're trying to push them to. You would have to be pretty watching the site like I do every day, going, hey, Eden Prairie, as we notice here, Eden Prairie boys don't have any entries in. Okay, so someone needs to go contact Eden Prairie boys. So just be aware of that you don't have the ability to close the site, kind of like if you were doing entries with Hy-Tek's team manager and anything that's not online. So, but we have our entries. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to click on teams in the meet. I'm going to hit downloads. And I'm going to hit Hy-Tek Meet Pro Easy Meet. Now, if for whatever reason, I'm going to go back now. If for whatever reason, the boys from a certain school, I know I'm going to pick on them a little bit just because they're there. From Eden Prairie, don't do their entries. we can sit here and go, oh my Lord, we don't have them. But there's a pretty good chance that their roster is already in here, or a decent chunk of their roster is already in here. So we're not going to worry and fret about it. What we can do is we can hit the downloads. We will still select those two teams. They're still selected. Downloads. And I'm going to hit include the full roster in the download. That is going to download every single person that's on either of those teams. Okay? So even though Eden Prairie girls have 10 and Wayzata girls have 16 and Wayzata boys have 19 and Eden Prairie boys have 0, if I hit include the full roster, I'm going to get all 400 kids from this meet. Okay? So I'm going to click include the full roster. If you want to decide, if you don't, and you just want the whatever number they give you, then just uncheck that. But if you're limiting your meet to 50 kids per team, or whatever the number is that you need to be under the guidance at the current time, then just don't click include full roster download. If your teams are small enough where it may not make a difference, then that's fine. I'm going to hit it anyway. Actually, I'm not going to click it. I'm going to hit download. And this is the standard file that you would have seen in the years past. Okay, this is almost the same roster that you would see if you were to have downloaded the rosters from the high school league site. The only difference is that I'm only taking the number of kids that they entered. If we put this to the side here, and I click include everyone and re-download the file, you notice that my file on the right is much, much longer than the file on the left. So my file on the right includes every single kid on the roster. My file on the left includes only those kids that were entered. So one thing to be conscious of, and I'm going to show you. Can everyone still see my screen now that it has Hy-Tek open? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Bear with me here as I just pull up a fake meet. So this is just a blank track meet. There's no teams. There's no athletes. So I'm going to take that file, import, semicolon, delimited entries, and rosters. And you're going to get this nice pop-up if you have Meet Manager 6. The answer is no. And between these two teams, there's 510 athletes. Click OK. And because we entered kids into the 100, there is going to be a report because we don't have this meet was just a girls meet, does not have boys 100. Yes, it will import kids into whatever random event we opened, which was the 100. So if you look at your seed menu here, it's going to show 26 kids, 26 girls, because that's how many girls we entered between Wayzata and Eden Prairie into that event. It's not a big deal. They don't have to run it. But if you want to delete that, you go to File, Purge, Remove Data, and just remove entries. Click OK. Click OK. And they're gone. Okay, so then you can go up to athletes, comp number, and you can assign them any which way you want. I always just start with 100, and that's it. So that right there is the most basic way for you, if you do not have a site supporter account, to do your entries with a roster only meet. Any questions on that? I'm sure we will.
Yeah, Josh, Darren Hofstad, Grand Rapids. Question I have is could we just bypass the step of adding the 100-meter dash and putting a couple of entries if we wanted to pull entire teams? Just clicking the include full roster and download.
It's a good question. I've never done it that way. So, Jummy, can you do me a favor again?
Yes.
Can you
Sorry.
delete your 10? Can you delete your 10 entries? I'm going to delete my 10 entries, and we'll see where we wind up.
Yeah.
Never done it before, Darren. Let's try it, right?
Well, it just seems like maybe a step to eliminate in the process.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
When you're doing that, do you have to click on each of them or can you click and drag?
Got to click on each of them. Yep. It's not
Okay.
like cross country where they allow you just to dump them all in.
Okay, Josh, I think I got rid of them.
Thank you. Let's find out if this works. So, yep, that would do it as well. Darren, you taught me something tonight. So that's the other way to do it. But if you need to limit your entries, then yes, create a fake event and then do it that way. But that works as well. There you go, Darren. You taught me. You taught this young old dog a new trick. So.
Well, we have a lot of smaller schools up north, so I'm just seeing this as a process where you could just kind of get it done without having to, go through a lot of email steps and hope that they get anything set up. I guess another question, and maybe this is down the road, but I am a site supporter also. Is there another way to do this, or is this kind of the process to go through? Either way, I guess I don't know what the difference would be being a site supporter.
Site supporter, you'd have, you can add the roster only. Okay. I'll show my account here in a little bit. But yes, I'll show the difference between the site supporter and the non site supporter. But that's a good point. But I want to handle the non-site supporter. So yeah, so Darren greatly showed me something that's new, that if you don't want, if they're small enough, you don't have roster entry limit, smaller schools, yeah, you can just, hey guys, I need you to still click on the link that I send you so that I can pull your roster this way. So they still have to at least accept the put the meet on their schedule. So by clicking that link and adding it to my schedule, and actually, yeah. So if I emailed that link to Jummy, the Eden Prairie coach, and she put that link on her, she clicked on something that says add meet to schedule or add it to my schedule. That then puts her into the meet here. That's the minimum step that they need to take to do so that you can pull that roster in. Does that part make sense?
Josh, another way that, so we went to a meet last Friday at Minnetonka, and our invite actually did not come from Minnetonka. It came from the timer.
Correct.
And so I don't know if you just want to mention that is probably more common, maybe, that the timer would invite you to the meet.
Good point. That depends on, so if you guys have done True Team in the past, you would have gotten an invite from my company because we were hired to do the entries for a True Team. So that's one way. Or if or subsections, section meets, you'd get an invite through us. But I know a lot of places, as like if you're not a site supporter, you do not have the ability to send invites. So I can't send an invite to another team if I'm hosting as a non-site supporter school. So as Wyzetta, who's not a site supporter, I can't send an invite. Darren, who is a site supporter, can. I can as a timer, and Minnetonka's timer as well, and I believe Eden Prairie's timer is as well. So as a timer, I can send invites with registration deadlines, with instructions, with any other general communication. But if your activities director or activity secretary is sending a link out and you're the timer, so you're not the athletic secretary or the activities director, you can send them this link that we created up here, right? By right-clicking and hit copy. Email that to the activities director, the athletic secretary, or whomever, and say, send this to the participating schools, and they need to, at a minimum, sign up. They at least need to get it on their calendar. Once they get it on their calendar, now we can just click them like we have here at the bottom, hit downloads, hit the full roster, and then we're good to go.
Hey, Josh, this is Joey Gleason. I've just got to ask, how come the state doesn't have the Hy-Tek files available like they did in years in the past? I mean, this is awesome we were doing this, but what an easy way to add rosters. How come that's gone this year?
I do not have an answer for you. I believe it has to do with the new site. So I don't have a specific answer for you.
One thing I'll mention in the Big Nine, the ADs all got together and they got the rosters for all of our coaches, and they just made it available on a Google spreadsheet, which has been helpful. And then Tony was nice enough to actually import it into Hy-Tek. And so we've got everything that we're used to. So for us, it should be fairly easy, but that might be a good idea in your conference. Do the same, just an alternative right now, because obviously you're going to be cleaning up a lot of entries otherwise, maybe.
Each conference is different. I know that. I'm just going to leave it there. But yes, there's other ways to grab the data. This is, for me at least, with and I just know that I don't know why the new site doesn't have it. I can't speculate onto why the new site doesn't, or if it will, or if it won't. But with the rest of this, with the state, for the foreseeable future, using athletic.net for our section and subsections or whatever round of state begins next year, or even this year, with the 3 classes next year, this is what we'll be using. So everyone should be relatively familiar. This is not a mandate for you don't have to use it for every meet. The league also sent out or has the ability to use just a basic spreadsheet that I created. I'm not going to go through the spreadsheet way to do it. All the information is on the high school league page to do it the spreadsheet way. It's a little more cumbersome, I think, but it's doable. But for the foreseeable future, athletic.net is going to be the way that we're going to be doing the state entries. So people should have a relative way or a relative idea of how to do entries via the athletic.net system. So it shouldn't be too complicated, I think. But again, thank you to Darren for showing me that. Yeah, I should have known that anyway, but I thought at least someone had to have some entries in. But thank you to Darren for teaching me something tonight that I did not know we had the ability to do. So that's how you do an unseated meet. I'm going to do a real quick seated meet. So again, we're just back in this event menu up here at the top, and you can just add your events in as you normally would. I'm clicking pretty quick, but it's just your standard races. This is if you want them to do entries beforehand. So we don't want to do an unseated meet. We want to do a seated track meet. That should be enough here as I'm going too fast for the site right now. So I've added most of the events in here. We don't need them all in there. But again, this way now we have them, they're going to go ahead and they're going to enter the meet by doing but not by rosters, but we want a seated track meet. We don't want to do an unseated one. We want everything to be done online so that we can send out a meet program, less kids standing around in bunches at the start or the finish, what have you. So again, the same thing kind of applies. I'm going to go ahead and do just put in some fake entries here real quick. Okay. And then it's just the same process as before. We're going to select our team. We're going to download. I like to, even if every meet I do, every seeded meet I do, I like to include the full roster because if there's a switch, a kid gets sick, then they're already in the database. I don't have to recreate the wheel. Download and then import. So that would be a seeded track meet. So any questions on adding events or pulling it's just the same way of pulling registrations down as you would for an unseeded track meet.
You have to be a site supporter in order to be able to do it that way or not?
Nope. The only thing you don't have the ability is the limiting the number of entries per event. So it's more on the honor system, which shouldn't be an issue for anyone. So. No.
And
I'm on a
this
non-site
is
supporter account right now.
quick question for you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Is this assuming that all the other schools have an account, right? They can't just log in without, like, the other coaches have to have an account from every school that was in our meet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. You have, so if I log out of this account, and because I'm going to go into my own personal account here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into that link that we sent before. Okay. I can't do anything. So if I get a hold of that, or if I'm a parent and happen to search for it, if I'm not connected to that team, I can't do anything. So I can't register. I can't do anything. That's why we have to, or the admins at athletic.net or fellow coaches of the school are the only ones who can add other coaches into the account. So, because we get requests all the time for my son, we get coaches requests all the time, or access to, or added to the team requests that are, my son is on the team, my daughter's on the team, or I'm a parent. Well, we deny those because they don't need access to the back end of the team stuff. That's not what the team access is for. So if I'm not logged in, or if I'm logged in, and actually give me a second, because I'm going to take my account away from that, and I have to go on my other computer to do that. So I do apologize here as I step away and go on my other computer. Okay, so now I just took my own access and my own account away. And I'm going to go, come on. Okay, or not. And I'm going to log back in to my personal account, or to my business account. Now I'm going to log back in as that first coach that I was. And notice how on the side here, I have no teams listed. So if I go and I try and search for Wayzata High School, okay, I have no access to anything. I can't click here. I can click and I can see meet info, whatever's on athletic.net, but I can't sign into a team. I can't do any entry. So if you're a coach, like let's just say I'm a coach, I have no account. I have an account, but I'm not attached to my team. I can't go in and do entries. And that's one of the most common questions we get from people who don't read our instructions. They go, I have an account. I'm the coach. How come it doesn't know I'm the coach? It doesn't know you're the coach. You have to request access to be the coach. Okay. So that's the other side of it when we're talking about if you have to have an account and you have to be listed on the team in athletic.net to gain access to that side of the to the admin side or the entry side of the account. Does that make sense? I'll take the silence as a yes.
So Josh, does the actual seeding for the meet come from results that have been uploaded?
You mean seed times?
Yeah,
Um,
because when you were putting your entries in, it just looked like you just threw three athletes into the event, and there wasn't really any seeding for them.
correct. The coaches can put in seed times, or if results have already been uploaded into the system, you can see seed times from past meets. But as a coach who's doing entries, you can enter a seed time in as well. And you can select whatever athletes you want, assuming you're talking about a seeded track meet, not an unseeded one.
That's after you've already put them into the events.
So as you put them in, so actually here, I'll pull up a different event here. This one, this is an Iowa meet, so it's so this is a girls only meet. So notice, if I wanted to add this gal here, there's no seed time for her, so I would have to put a seed time in for her.
Okay, just when you were doing the entries, you went so fast, I never saw the pop-up for the seed time on the right.
Yeah. So it would be there. This one may not actually have, I don't know if we've timed this team. So this one already had some entries in there.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have to re-register every year on this?
Yes.
No.
So
You
right
should
now,
not have to. Your account doesn't go away year after year.
okay, so I'm on issue right now, and the only names I see are Corey Fusco and Tom Sharp. And I've used it previously. And I don't know if I'm just looking at the wrong thing.
Let me go to my other computer and take a look.
I would say make sure you're in track and not cross country.
I am, but I do both.
Gotcha.
So I'm on my other computer, Georgine. Just hold on 1 second. That way no one sees the admin side. Georgine, can you come back on for me?
Yep. What do you need?
Track and cross country?
I should be both, yeah. I mean, I have in the past.
Refresh your page. You good now?
I see Eastview boys try. Hold on. All right, before I had Tom Sharp and Fusco, now I don't have it.
Now you should have access to the team now.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
I'll let you keep going. I'll come back.
So, so we had a question of what's the difference between a site supporter and a not site support. I'm sorry, a non-site supporter. Okay, so I'm going to take you to a meet that's this week that I just set up 2 days ago. We're going to stick with the late conference theme here. And so I'm able to invite participants. I'm able to, in our settings, I'm able to control a lot more as a site supporter. I can set an entry beginning and an entry deadline. Okay. So that, like, let's just take sections, for example. Section meets have an entry deadline. Those are set by your section. And because I have a site supporter access, I am the ability to send out those invites. That's why you get those nice invites from me every year. You get your registration reminders every year. If you haven't done your entries yet, you get those nice reminders from me every year. So those are the things that site supporters get. Additional meet options, I can lock down what teams, make them invite only, publish entries. Some of this stuff is USATF stuff, which is not relevant to what we're discussing. I don't think seeds really matter. And then that's pretty much it on that side. And then so the only thing that's this is a seeded meet. But if I wanted to make it a roster only meet, I can hit roster and have rosters. So those are the things that, and then I can invite any team I want. If I wanted to invite, I can invite Owatonna, I can invite any team. You'll get an email with an invite. I can also send an email here that says, hey, this is the registration deadline. I'm sending it to the teams that haven't done their registrations yet. So there's a little bit more with the site supporter stuff. I'm not telling you that you need to buy it. I'm not telling you shouldn't buy it. I'm not telling you can or you need to. There's just a difference. I run about 150 to 250 track meets a year and cross country meets. I need it. If you're hosting just 3 or 4 track meets, you probably don't need it. So those are the differences between the site supporters and the non-site supporters. Okay. So is there any other questions on that?
So if you're not a site supporter, you just send in just a regular email, you send that link to them that you grabbed before and tell them that they need, you just don't send it from athletic.net software.
Correct.
Is that the only real difference? But you can still do everything else?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can't set registration deadlines, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, for what a school needs, yeah. Yes, correct. There's really no difference.
Got it.
There's minor things, but yes.
Got it. So then would I want to have the coach give me access to our particular school, or do I want to set up my own account? If I just do the
Probably
meet
the
manager
best thing
piece.
to do is to go through, create your own account, or if the coaches trust you with their account, I would create your own account, your own athletic.net account, and then request access to the team by using the search function and then scrolling down and requesting access. And you'll have to put in a little comment.
Okay.
You can put in meet manager and then put, like I time the meets or meet manager or whatever.
Yep.
And the thing that most of us on the admin side of athletic.net look for is, are you registering with a school domain? The domain matches the school name, then we just approve it. Or the coaches themselves can approve it. They get an email when someone tries to connect to their team. If you're going through a Gmail account, just because that's also recommended, because some school accounts,
Our Gmail.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't need to request access to all the schools that come to my meet. Is that correct? Just my home school.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions at this point?
Yes, Josh, this is a personal question because I just
Uh-oh.
got an email from you. Is my entry deadline really 8 o'clock for Tuesday?
Yeah.
What?
Hold on 1 second, people. My son is down here. Yeah, you gotta go charge it. Yeah, it's gotta be plugged in. I'm in a meeting, Brady. I know. You need to charge it. Plug it into the couch. Go talk to mom. I'm in a meeting. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Where were we? I apologize.
I'm sorry. I was asking you about my meet on Tuesday with Hopkins. Is this what you're looking at right now
Yes.
on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, but you told me it was a roster only meet, and then you said it was not a roster only meet.
That was the fake one, was a roster only meet. If you need extra time, Jimmy, just shoot me an email. We'll make it happen.
Okay, well, sorry, everyone, to hijack the training here.
All right. Besides Jummy's entry question, registration deadline question, do we have any other questions right now?
So I've got one now. So I've never actually done a seated meet before. We always just get the numbers and just, run whatever, whoever's setting up the meet.
Yep.
And like talking with Tony, he's like, yeah, we should probably seed more of them, but we were only hosting like 5 meets this year, 4 or 5 meets, whatever. And I don't know. I personally don't want to spend the time doing that. Is it easy to do, or is that something worth covering here, or is that too much?
Seeding a meet is simple as can be. I think it's actually easier than doing an unseeded track meet, but to each their own. Give me 1 second, folks. I do apologize. I have a person who is late on their registrations, and I need this to. Sorry, I do apologize. I do have a business to run as well. All right. So doing a seated track meet is, for me personally, and for most of my crew, is actually a lot easier than doing an unseated track meet because everything's already in there. The amount of changes you're going to get from a seated to an unseated track meet is minimal. It's a little more work on the front end with, I guess I just hit the seat all button. But compared to an unseated track meet where all meet long you're waiting for the clerks to come and get you the information and to run the sheets to you, and it may not be a big deal for we have live results. We do, all of our meets have a live result function. So yeah, it's kind of important for us to get the information beforehand. So the information gets from the clerk to us as timers, and then we have to put that information into the system, update our start lists so that it goes online, so that our live results look good, so that everyone can be appraised of how the meet's going. I like seated meets because because that information's already in there. It's done for me. The coaches put their entries into the system, and yeah, you might have to make a few changes, but in comparison to the amount of work that I do for an unseated track meet, a seated meet is much, much easier for me. But again, it's not my choice to decide what kind of meet teams are going to be running in.
Yeah, one thing for us, we had an athlete get contact traced on Friday, so it's like, oh crap, we got to scratch it from 3 events now. So I got a feeling that's going to happen more and more. That's my only downfall with a seated meet is there's last minute changes the day of.
Usually, unless they're but even if they're in a relay, it's not like in Iowa where I shouldn't say that on here. I get less changes in Minnesota meets than I do in Iowa meets. Now I did have an entire team go down with COVID last week, so that was a little bit of a pain, but I just deleted them and then reseeded the entire track meet. So, but again, it's what your preference is, and I let my host decide what their preference are. So if then they want the meet to be unseated, then the meet's going to be unseated. If they want the meet to be seated, then the meet is seated. Minnesota is one of the only states that does unseated track meets on a regular basis, which is fine. I mean, that's just what we do, but it's a rarity around this region. So any other questions on athletic.net? Okay, no other questions on that. We do have a little bit more time, so I don't know if you have any other questions for me. I guess it doesn't have to be athletic.net related. If you want to shoot Hy-Tek questions at me, I guess I can answer some of those. I'm sure that's actually going to spark a lot of people, but
I do have a Hy-Tek question. If nobody else has a question about athletic.net, I want to do that first in case people want to jump off.
Maybe one still regarding athletic.net is, so if we don't have our entries in there, but when I have the Hy-Tek file and I'm all done, I did this a couple of, like 2 years ago, and I can't remember how to do it. You can just upload that Hy-Tek file, right, Josh? And then athletic.net will suck all those events in so that you can, people will be able to see it and see their best times.
okay, so you're talking about results, right?
Correct.
Yes. So I'm going to reshare my screen here as I stop doing that. Come on, there we go. So I want to minimize this somehow. So we're going to take this meet here. I went too fast again. I apologize. Force a habit. Really, really sorry. We're going to go, this meet is done. Everything is scored. You go to File, Export, delimited results. Click OK, and then remember where you put it. Click OK, click OK. Okay, so now I'm going to go to bear with me here as it's buried in my list of meets. I'm going to delete the results. So you have two options. The file export delimited results is the best way to export results into athletic.net. So we're just going to click upload. We're going to go down to the file. Bear with me here as it runs its parsing. This year it's been taking a little bit longer than usual, so I don't really know what's going on with it, but it does take a little bit longer.
And so what you're doing now is what schools, they could just go back into the calendar event to the event and they could download the Hy-Tek file themselves, or they could pull it into their.
This is uploading the results into the meet after it's over.
Got it.
Yep. So again, this is the site supporter side, so there might be some things that I can do that you can't. But for the most part, I believe that this is all the same, that you can see. If you have any hand-timed events, you just can select which ones are hand-timed, but everything here was FAT. And I'll publish. Sometimes it'll show this, just hit mark official, and it's done. And I would recommend, if you don't know how to do this, okay, but you want to do it, you can just send your Hy-Tek backup or some file to results@yzetaresults.com. If you're using Hy-Tek, give me a file backup, please, with what meet name it is, the date, and then we can upload it for you. It's really not a big deal to do that. And I'll put that in the chat if I can find the chat function. from where I'm at.
If my timer doesn't use athletic, I can send my results to you.
Uh,
I mean, they're using Hy-Tek. They just informed me that they won't be using athletic and using Google Sheets. I'm a little frustrated about that.
if you can get a HTML file or that semicolon delimited file, most likely, yes, it can be uploaded to athletic.net.
Okay, thanks.
And yes, again, I don't mind uploading results. Just understand that it may not be. This is a message to everyone. It's not just to Jummy. But it's not 100% priority for me to do it that second. Chances are it'll get done that night, but I do have other meets to run and the minimal amount of time I can spend with my family during the season. But I'm happy to upload it because I know that at the end of the year, when we get to sections or conference meets, it's nice that that stuff's in there already so that coaches can just click, click, click and be done. So I don't mind doing that for you guys. And even if you're not the host and the host doesn't want to do it, again, you say, hey, can I have it? You can send me it in that HTML. PDFs don't work, but HTML files do. So, and I put that specific email in the chat to send stuff that way, results that way. So now, does anyone have, I know I have a Hy-Tek question or any other questions I'm willing to.
So just double checking, we're gonna do section meets through this and we're gonna do true team meets through this.
Sections, I can give you a 99% certainty because I would assume that we're going to do the same thing we did 2 years ago. True Team is not handled through us anymore. True Team got their own account. So that is a great question for someone at True Team. Tony Enertson. It's a great question for Tony Enertson from True Team.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Josh, with a site supporter license or whatever, does that make the live results throughout the athletic.net happen, or is that a separate thing?
That is separate. That is through let me get back to that. Let me share my screen again. Get this out of the way. So if you're interested in doing this, can be done through Hy-Tek. It can be done through Finish Links. It can be done through Eagle Eye. If you're thinking about doing live results, whichever way you want to do them, this is the provider that we personally use. So you can I can put that link in the chat as well if I can't find the chat while I'm here. That is fantastic. When I'm sharing my screen, I don't have access to the chat that I can see. So I do apologize. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so here's that link. You can contact, I'm sure Ben's email is on here somewhere. Probably at the bottom. But yeah, there's a contact us thing down here. And they'll get back to you with whatever current pricing they have for specifics. I don't know their pricing because we're on a different account. So, but that would be through either Hy-Tek, Finish Links, or both. The person who runs that is pretty quick at responding. Has been pretty good for us when we have issues that come up. So,
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions?
Okay, I do have a question. So we have got some schools. I was hoping I would see some of these schools on this list attending this training, and they're just not there. So they send me the file in Excel. How do I convert that file so that I can get it into Hy-Tek without having to hand enter them? I thought I could just save it as a text file, and that did not work for me the other day. So
There is. I'm going to put this in the chat. there's that. I'm going to click on it as, whoa, what am I doing? I don't know what that was, but
There we go. Okay,
there is my handy dandy spreadsheet.
that's what I need. Okay, awesome.
Be aware that that does not take in competitor numbers. You need to assign those through
Yep.
Hy-Tek.
Perfect. Awesome,
So-
thank you.
Yep. I wrote this, I don't know, 7 years ago. So I don't use it, but there it is. And the links in the
So then
chat.
I just have a personal question for you, because I know that how many events and stuff that you run. So do you require your schools for the events? Do you make them enter them into the athletic.net so you can pull them there? Or do you let them send them however they want?
They are with the amount of meets that we do, we do require them to do them online.
Okay,
And we require them to go through athletic.net.
perfect.
Our certain other states have other entry systems, and so
Yep.
if they, like Iowa has a different entry system that we used a long time ago.
Okay,
And we have said that because that's the state standard in Iowa, we said if you want to use it, that's great, but I will just pull the rosters down
got it,
or pull the entries down.
got it.
But yes, I do require them because I don't have the time to chase down every single coach to do their entries.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm thinking, I mean, it's just you've got to have it in here for subsections anyway, so at some point you're gonna have to enter them, so they may not like me, but I think I might tell people that you've got to put it in here too, because you're gonna have to do it at some point anyway. So you might as well just get it done right away.
Yeah, and that's kind of my opinion on it as well. But nothing is mandated, and nothing I
Yep,
hope will never be
Understood.
mandated that you're required to use it until we get to subsections or sections or.
correct. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for putting this on, because it helped me a ton. I don't know about anybody else, but it has helped me quite a bit. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Glad I could help. Any other questions I can answer? Whether it's Hy-Tek or athletic.net.
I'll just mention about your what you have on the screen now. I did try to do that. And it is a pain to put them all in when the teams send them.
Yep.
But I did find out that if you put their grade in column I, it didn't work. I had to put grade in column J. I don't know if that's a change or something. Since at least grades wouldn't show up. So if anyone tries that, unless I was completely wrong, but it did not bring their grades until I went over a column.
Well, that's a great question. So it should be column 10. So whatever column that happens to be, I'm not great at the alphabet. So yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, that would be Jay.
All right, I'll send.
It looks like I will be age. It looks like they added that because you don't have age in there. So I is age and then J is grade.
Yeah, that's a mistake on my part because this Excel spreadsheet that we created this specific one from is for an age group meet. So that's a great point that I will go over and send the high school.
I will say that it did work really nice. That when the team sent an Excel spreadsheet, it was easy, but most of the teams don't send one separated last name, first name, so you still have to type. But for the one team that did, it did work. So it was nice to have these directions. Thanks.
I'm glad I could help a little bit. We said column J, right?
Correct. Yes, Jay.
There we go. All right. Worked on my other computer and sent it over. Again, I don't use it, and I created these specific instructions for a friend of mine a long time ago. So very rarely do I use the Excel spreadsheet format.
It wasn't as easy as the old high school league site way, but at least it was something to not use athletic.net because a lot of those schools didn't have that yet. So it's appreciated.
Any other questions or any other questions I can answer or whatnot? If not, I guess we're done unless someone's got a question. So
Just want to say thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
yep, I'll see you on Tuesday, Jummy.
If I can get my entries in.
I think you'll be there either way.
So you said you were recording this so you could send it to the high school league? And so where will they post it? Or will they post it on the league site?
So this is the high school league's account, so it'll be on the I assume that Amy or someone within the high school league will have access to it and post it. So I don't know who has that ability or who will.
Okay,
But I believe that, you might want to reach out to Amy Eins.
perfect.
So, and if you guys do happen to email me, right way to put this so it sounds politically correct. My meets take precedent over your meets. So if I'm in the middle of one of my meets or I'm on the road to my meet, I may or may not respond until after the night's over. I might respond while I'm at the meet. It all depends on what my current schedule looks like for that specific day. So, but we do have some support staff that can get online at different times. So hopefully someone can help you if it's not just me. So.
Thanks.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right. If not, then
Thank you, Josh.
Yep. If not, then everyone have a good night. Good week, and looks like the weather's going to be pretty nice this week. So.
Thanks again, Josh.